Howdy doody, scumbags, and welcome to a very, very special episode of A Vote of No Confidence. I am joined today with a fellow Senate member who is not sitting next to me in the podium because he is halfway around the world. My good friend, Manuel. Say hi, Manuel.
Hey, hello, everyone. Halfway across the world in Manila, Philippines.
The Philippines, man. I want to go there. I want to go to the Philippines. Are you there for like vacation, business, pleasure? What's going on?
I'm here for work. I'm gonna be here till September.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
that's a cool gig, though.
It is. It's I've been traveling in different cities throughout the Philippines. I'm just happened to be in Manila this time.
That's wicked. And you've been telling us you've been picking up like random like Star Wars goodies from different parts of Asia. Oh, do you have any there?
Yep. So I actually got this on a trip to Japan, right? It's actually a Star Wars button, right? A random one, and in the back it says "Used as price in Japan only." So I want to open this with you because because today's topic, like we have to set a bit of a lighter mood.
That's true. We're gonna need to placate the fans after they hear what we have to say. So let's hear. See, you guys, you get an unboxing and a debate. This is why.
So this button right now, it's a crappy Darth Maul.
What does it say underneath him? Is there something written in English or?
Warner Brothers. What the fuck?
No way.
Yeah. I love this. I love this place. It's the best. I'll send you a picture of a Space Wars Ray that I found.
Oh my God! Please do.
The Bespin encounter Luke.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now we wanted to, like Manuel said, we wanted to lighten the mood for you guys because we're going to talk about something kind of heavy, and by heavy I mean a lot of people hate this. What are we going to be talking about today? What's our debate?
It starts with the letter S.
Midi-Chlorians? No, it's probably not that. Man, Midi-Chlorians. So we're going to be talking about like the case for and the case against, sort of. I mean, you have theories that the Midi-Chlorians are going to be important, and my job as the opposing senator is to debunk those theories. So why don't you start off by telling us exactly what you think Midi-Chlorians are going to do for the Star Wars universe moving forward?
Actually, I'm not going to tell you what they are going to do. I'm telling you what they are doing, and what they did is they actually fill in major plot holes throughout the whole series, all three trilogies, in fact, right? The prequels, I guess the original trilogy, and the trilogy we're currently in right now. It actually, like, one of the biggest, I think, problems, or rather one of the biggest problems that people have is Luke Skywalker's power jump, right? When he was training with him, from when we last saw him in 4 to, almost Master Jedi in 5.
Right.
So my theory actually, well, not even really a theory, it's just more of a conversation piece that I can explain all these major plot holes in the movies.
And you can explain the your backup.
Most of it, yeah, most of them.
Okay. Let's hear it.
All right, so Vader. At the end of episode 4, well, I guess the end, right? Vader versus ObiWan, right? What Vader tells ObiWan is, "You've grown weak, old man." You remember this? I hope you do. Right?
Yes.
I know, eh? So, sorry, I'm just distracted by the sound of people unsubbing right now from this conversation. Right? But no, I really hope not. Right, but no, Vader was actually able to sense that Obi-Wan's powers actually went on a very strong decline, right? While Vader's powers, or Anakin's powers, actually stayed at the same, if not, he grew stronger. Right? Why did his powers go down? Midi-Chlorians are all around us. They're basically life. Well, where was Obi-Wan stationed for the last episode?
Tatooine.
Tatooine, a planet with not exactly that much life around it, right? So it is fair to say, what I actually think is that his power, his midi-chlorians, have actually went into a decline, or they fell asleep, if you want to call it that. But I mean, why did Vader's power stay the same? If not, they grew higher. Well, like we actually saw in Rogue One, and in the books and the extended universe, Vader has actually been traveling around the galaxy, right, visiting different planets, right, visiting different planets with different life forms, right, encountering different Jedi's that when we actually see in Rebels, right. So he does encounter other people. Now I'm going to get into why encountering other Jedi's and with Midichlorians is important in a few moments, though, right? But I want your take on this. And yes, I am also picturing Palpatine and Vader having like a crazy, 1980s, like type movie, traveling
like
the galaxy.
A road trip movie.
Oh,
there we go. Amazing. Standalone film number 3. Fear and Loathing in Coruscant. They drive around and get drunk and talk about life. Well, the whole issue of Vader sensing Obi-Wan and fighting Obi-Wan, and sort of maintaining his power while Obi-Wan seemed not to. I don't know. I was always one of those guys who was under the assumption that Obi-Wan losing that fight was not. It didn't happen because of any lack of skill on Obi-Wan's part. It happened because he knew, like he tells Vader, that if he was stricken down, he would become more powerful. Because he now knows the secret of becoming one with the Force and essentially turning into a Force poltergeist and going around and moving things. So I think his whole end game was, teach Luke what's going on, teach him about the Force, get him started, and then guide him from the afterlife using these abilities I've learned. Because at the end of the day, like Luke shot down the Death Star because of Obi-Wan telling him, listen, turn off your computer, just fire your missiles, trust me, use the Force. And I don't think, like, Obi-Wan could meditate, he was a powerful guy, but I don't think he could have maintained that link with Luke had he been just down on Yavin, like looking up at the sky. I think that was it necessitated him being dead. So I always saw his fight with Vader on the Death Star as Obi-Wan planned his death there. Like he looked at Luke, he smiled, he's like, okay, everything is, and he kind of stands back and lets Vader take that swing. Like it always seemed to me like he might not have necessarily won if he had been trying, but I believe losing was completely his plan all along. It was never a question of he didn't have as much power as Vader in that moment.
Okay, so this brings me to my other point, right? Someone like Luke Skywalker. So Luke grew up, again, on Tatooine, right? Again, a planet with not that much life around it, which means that there's no debate that Luke probably has a very high Midichlorian count, right? As per, Episode 1's logic, okay?
Right.
We can debate. I don't think that there's much debate on that, right?
It's definitely higher than Uncle Owen's.
This is higher than Uncle Owen's. Anyways, right? But what I'm actually saying, though, is that I wanted him and Vader in the same room was because that is what actually started jump-starting Luke's Midichlorians, actually. The power within it actually do it, because he is now beside two very powerful Jedi, or other Force users who have extremely high Midichlorian counts, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Now, in terms of throwing the fight, yes, I agree. He definitely did throw the fight, old Obi-Wan. He threw it. Like I told you before, he probably had a huge gambling debt, so he needed to throw that fight. Right? I wonder to who, though. Probably Jawas. I hate Jawas.
Oh, probably, yeah. Jawas seemed like it would break kneecaps without even thinking twice.
Jawas and Ewoks. I don't want to get started. Anyway, yeah. But he definitely threw the fight. But but if you really do think about it, though, why did he not put up a bigger fight on it? I agree with you on that he came there, knowing that he would die. But I think the reason for it wasn't just because to guide Luke. I think that was the only way that Obi-Wan knew about how the Force work, how the Midichlorians work. Remember, Qui-Gon Jinn was his master, and Qui-Gon Jinn
Right.
heavily believed in the Midichlorians. Right, he believed in it. And what I actually did like about the Midichlorians, though, is that it actually gave us a scale of Jedis. We knew that by Qui-Gon's conversation that Master Yoda is top tier, right? And we know that based on what he said about Anakin, young Anakin, is that he is like right below. He's like right below Master Yoda. He said almost as. Did he say he's just as high as Master Yoda, or
No,
almost?
it's he actually had more. He had because he had Obi-Wan saw he had 20,000. He goes, oh, even Master Yoda doesn't have a Midi-Chlorian count that high. So he was actually more than Yoda.
Number one, great point. Number two, fantastic impression.
Oh, right? Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact. You know Ian McGregor's brother? He's a fighter pilot, and his code name is Obi-2.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So here's the thing, though, right? Is that it gave us a scale that we know just how powerful these Jedi's are, right? We know, or Force users are. What now? I could, and as I was trying to prove before, that coming in contact with another with someone else who has a high Midichlorian count starts jump-starting these, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is proof is Anakin, young Anakin Skywalker. How many times did he try winning that pod race? Several times, right?
A lot. He raced a lot.
Exactly. Now, it wasn't until magically he came across Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and even Darth Maul. He was in the same vicinity as those three high Midichlorian users, right? Even though he's on a desert planet, he came across these three high users, and all of a sudden, his powers are jump-started. You know what word we're trying to avoid. Right?
Yeah.
But it got jump-started in it, right? Now, I don't think it was Qui-Gon's, riveting speech of, I don't remember the riveting speech, but I doubt that speech was enough to actually help him guide him. But it was at that moment that he was able to win that. So I know I keep talking about, the desert planet life and, how is this, stringing things together? Well, it's actually kind of simple. And again, I'm going to jump ahead as to why it explains that plot hole of how did Luke Skywalker become so strong in such a short amount of time, right? I don't think there's any definitive time of how long he was in Dagobah, right? Is there?
Yeah, that's a good point. Even like I've always wondered that myself. Like, was he there for a few days? Was he there for like a month and a half? Like, we don't really know exactly how much time passed there.
Exactly. All we know is there was enough time passed that the rebels were able to set up a base in the snow planet. Right? Or no, it was already there.
It was they had just left Hoth.
Yeah, but, there we go.
Enough time had passed for them to for Han to go to Bespin and all that stuff. So it could have been days. It could have been much longer.
Exactly, and that's what I think. So but how did he jump from just level 1 Padawan to Master Jedi? It's like an RPG. Like, was he just grinding in the woods for hours?
Yeah, right? He was just killing blue slimes for 5 hours until he leveled up.
Yeah, right? No, it's actually because, and again, this explains why Yoda is still alive too. So, because Obi-Wan's powers decreased so much because he was void of life, right? Yoda's powers actually stayed the same and maybe even increased because in Dagobah it's a swamp world surrounded by life, surrounded by trees, surrounded by fish, water, everything is right there. So when Luke actually shows up, not only does he encounter all this different life around him, he encounters probably the highest at the time now Midichlorian count life being, and that's Yoda. So if you believe what I say about that coming across, being around not only a lot of life around you, but being surrounded by life and the jumpstarts the Jedi abilities, then why not? And this actually makes sense though, because if he trained that long there with Yoda, let's say he trained for a few weeks, right? Well, in those weeks, it's enough time for him to be able for his Midichlorian to be jump started. I hate that. I'm trying to avoid that word. I wonder if people can figure out what word we're trying to avoid.
They'll figure it out soon enough.
Yeah, right. So that's pretty much why I actually think that's part of the reason why Midichlorians are important. It fills that gap. It fills that gap as to why people are getting such a high jump. We talked. So now we've actually talked. We've covered prequels with Anakin as to his power jump, right? How he was able to all of a sudden start guiding himself, and also, I forgot to mention that's where the Jedi Council is in Coruscant, right? A planet full of life. And that's where they have their Padawans. That's where they have the Jedi Council, because they know that being surrounded by not only by the strong Jedis, but also being surrounded by all this life increases their power. Right? Then we've covered the original trilogy. I think I've covered with Luke Skywalker's power jump. So now let's talk about the new trilogy, and let's talk about Rey's awakening. Oh, dropped it.
There we go. Finally get to say it.
Go. Right. It actually, so if you actually look at it this way, if Rey Rey's obviously a Force user, Jedi or not. I mean, everyone has different opinions on that right now, right? Mm-hmm. But she's a Force user. When is it that we actually see her use her Force powers or any sort of Force abilities?
If the flashback counts, then it's when she touches the lightsaber.
Exactly, right? And what does she say as soon as she lands on Maz's planet?
She says, "Damn, this is a nice planet, G." No, she says, there was, yeah. She says, "I didn't know there was this much green in the whole galaxy."
Great impression again. I can do Palpatine. No. Well, yeah, no, exactly that. She didn't know that there was that much green in the galaxy. So, right. And where was she before? Which planet?
Jakku.
Exactly.
Stuff.
Exactly. Another desert planet almost void of life. Mm-hmm. So, now that she's encountering all this green, and the thing as well is that we can also say, okay, so did she encounter someone that is somewhat Force sensitive? Well, Maz is actually Force sensitive, and it's actually read, I believe it's canon now that it is proven that she's Force sensitive.
Right.
Exactly. So, her encounter with her, Maz can sense that she's Force sensitive, and she touches the lightsaber, right? Which gives her that Force vision. So that's kind of her first real ability of using somewhat of something of the Force. Right? So, okay, if you wanted to take that, okay, well, I can talk about when she really uses her Force powers. I'm sure you can feel this question.
The first time we see her really cut loose with her powers would be pushing back against Kylo Ren when he's trying to get into her head.
And Kylo Ren just happens to be a what?
Very handsome young man. Oh, but also a Force user.
That's true. And that's right. He is. He's also a very strong Force user as well. So now Rey powers have been, or her Midi-Chlorians now are being jump started by the interaction with Kylo Ren's Midi-Chlorians. And Kylo Ren's Midichlorians most likely got jump-started from being with his uncle.
Right.
Right. So you see so this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Now, even take a look at the ending of the movie. Luke is not on a desert planet. He's in a planet full of life.
That's right. There's a lot, even like from what we've been hearing about Ahch-To, is that there's a lot of animal life living on that little island.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. So Force users seek out places with life, and it makes sense though if you think about it. If you want to have Rey from Snoke and Luke from the Emperor, right? Send them somewhere where their Force powers will not be awakened. Send them somewhere where there's little chance of them being able to use the Force in any way and being able to be affected by another strong Force user. And Jakku, with very little life around, that's a perfect hiding place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now let me ask you this as a counterpoint then, because when Midi-Chlorians first came into everybody, I think were so against midichlorians to begin with was because, unlike Star Trek, unlike Battlestar Galactica, Mass Effect, or any of those other sci-fi things we have, which are all cool, what set Star Wars apart was it was a world that was very much inhabited by, for lack of a better word, magic. And to take something magic like the Force, something very spiritual, and inject science into it, I think a lot of and less of a mystery. So, do you think, with this theory of yours, which I like, do you think there is a way that this theory could still be correct without it being Midichlorians that are the specific, the constants that makes up all these? Do you think that they could present this to us as saying, yes, your Force abilities were awakened by Kylo Ren, but Midichlorians had nothing to do with it. It was just the presence of a Force user itself.
That's the thing, is that if they never introduced Midichlorians in the original trilogy, sorry, in the prequels, my apologies, right? I'm gonna get killed, right? If they never introduced Midichlorians in the prequels, I would be inclined to agree with you, but you don't want it to exist, and they are actually, and yes, they did get a lot of hate. I mean, I think they got a lot of hate because of Episode 1, right? They did get a lot of hate because of Episode 1, because of Jar Jar. Again, Jar Jar ruined everything. You have a Jar Jar.
Don't let James hear you say that.
Right. But yeah, that's what I mean, though. So I think they got they got grouped in with the suckiness that people perceived Episode 1 to be. Right?
Because I don't think they mentioned, did they mention Midi-Chlorians in 2 or 3, like at all?
No, not at all. Not at all. At least, you know what? I don't even think in director's commentary they mentioned it.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, and that's the thing as well, is that they're completely trying to forget about it, ignore it, and you know what? I get why. I understand why, but I just think that this actually it's a plot point that already exists to explain a lot of plot holes that are in the Star Wars universe, right? And not only that, though, but it also helps. Like, if you go back with the mentality, with the idea that I just gave you, right, and you rewatch the prequels, it will make sense. Every question that you have will make sense at that point.
So do you think...
Not every question, but like questions that you have about how this, the power jump, how, why did this happen? How did this happen? Why is Vader going to this planet? Things like that, right?
Right.
Why is Leia even somewhat... is Leia even somewhat Force sensitive, in your opinion?
I hope so, man. I want to see her do something Forcey soon. And, like, she's the she's the daughter of a Skywalker, so she's got to have something in her. Exactly. I just remembered, they do say Midichlorians in Revenge of the Sith. When Palpatine is telling the Plagueis story, he says how Plagueis could manipulate Midichlorians. So there was another mention of it. That totally slipped my mind. But yeah,
just thinking of that meme, have you heard the story of Darth Plagueis? Oh God, that meme, it kills me every time. But but yeah, so they try to barely mention it. And you know what? I mean, I didn't even think about that as well. Is that Plagueis, who I think he was top tier, right? Even beyond Skywalker, right? Mm-hmm. If he figured out how to manipulate the Midichlorians in that regard, then that actually gives even more weight to the Midichlorians, in my opinion. Right? It helps to explain a lot of different things, right? And so, I think Midichlorians definitely got the short end of the stick, right? In the whole Star Wars universe, they really did.
So, do you think at some point in 8 or 9, we're going to have a scene where things are explained to Rey, probably Rey, and thus through her, things are explained to us, whether it's by Luke or by Snoke or by somebody wise, maybe Yoda's ghost, who knows? Do you think somebody is going to explain something in 8 or 9 and bring up, say the words, Midichlorians did this? Like, they're going to actually specify that it's not just the Force, it's Midichlorians in specific that have been causing these things. Do you think we'll hear that word again?
Well, I think the ghost of Porkins is actually the ghost of Porkins. No, I actually think it's actually going to be explained. And I think that the plot point that is going to be used is it's going to be explained as to why Rey was left on the desert planet.
Oh, okay. So they'll use that as an explanation, and then everything else we kind of figure out on our own by rewatching everything.
Exactly. So yeah. So even if you if you just watch episode 7, right, and think of it, Rey was left on the desert planet because of on Jakku, because of Void of Life, right, and there was little chance of Snoke being able to find her because her Force powers are not awakening. So if you rewatch it with that idea in your head, you can start theorizing things in your head as to who did it, why she was there. Well, not why she was there. You know why she's there, but who left her there and who knew about this with what intentions.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I am a big fan of the prequels, as everybody who watches these things knows, and I am also a big fan of taking parts of the prequels and implementing them into new material so that the prequels become better by association. And whether or not that happens with Midi-Chlorians, I guess we're going to have to see. I know it's definitely going to happen with Boss Nass, because Boss Nass is coming back in a big way, and I will put money down on that if I had money. But until then, we can only wait and see. And now it's everybody else's turn to vote. Do you think Midi-Chlorians are coming back, or do you think that they're better off left burning with Qui-Gon in the pyre on Naboo? Either way, we're going to find out some crazy shit in Episode 8. And I want to thank my boy Manuel for coming on here and bringing this theory to us.
Hey, right. No problem. Glad I can bring it up there, right? And let's see who in the comments actually wants to see Ghost of Porkins come back. I love Porkins, dude. I really, really do.
Porkins is great.
One scene, but I love it. I think it's that Family Guy bit that kills me.
So to cap off this debate, Mr. Manuel, let me end with a question. How many Midichlorians do you think you have?
4.
That's the right answer.
4.
All right, guys. Next time, we'll see you next time on Vote of No Confidence and on the Rebel Scum podcast channel in general. And you can check Manuel out. He's got his own channel. You want to plug it for us?
Yeah, Fatty Fan Theories. I haven't really done much lately because I've been traveling and I haven't had a chance to come up with anything really good, anything really solid. So I don't like to just put out stuff just for putting out stuff. You know what I mean?
It's okay. It's Star Wars. There's always going to be something new popping up to talk about.
There's always something new, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, I like to, but yeah, I hope, I really want to see the comments on the Midichlorians. All 3 people.
I know. We'll wait and see. Well, until next time, everybody, may the force of others be with you.
Take care. Bye.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.